What's up? What's up? Welcome to another edition of Funk from the Front Seat, right here, Nine on the Grind, hosted by this beautiful platform, StreamYard. It's our first time doing it on this platform like this, so y'all welcome. Thank you for tuning in. What's up, all my true funk soldiers out there, my Club Funketeer ambassadors, my Funketeers all around the world. I'm your host, number nine, right here. Check this out. Today, we got a really interesting guest, my funk sister from Atlantis. Yes, Miss Chrissy Key Rollins, holistic restoration healer, is going to be popping in with us at some point. So we're just waiting on her to zoom in from underneath the sea, y'all, and see what's going on. And she's going to drop some knowledge on us about how we can restore and heal and how we can do it from the inside out, because that's what we got to do right now. You know how we do. Everybody out there, please drop some comments in the box and let me know. I'll get back to you. We'll comment on them and all that good stuff. And know this, I want to give a mad shout out and happy birthday before we even get the show started to Miss Linda Scheider. And I know there's some birthdays I missed, but happy birthday, Linda. You know I love you. Peace, love, and soul and funk to my main man, Mr. Mark Lee, Mark behind the glass, my brother from another mothership. So yes, Mark, thank you for helping us put this platform out there and push this new thing that we're doing. This is on my own network, on my own StreamYard account, and I'm very proud of that. So how we gonna roll? We're gonna come in like this. Yeah, this is how I felt today. Now is the word. So if you're out there, clap your hands like this. Come on. Hope y'all don't mind. Another one. New York, where you at? Detroit, where you at? Minnesota, where you at? North Carolina, where you at? Where you at? Where you at? South Carolina, how you doing? What's up down there in Texas? Everything good down there? Let's go across the water. Australia, what's happening? How you doing, Australia? I see my phone went down under. What's up, England? What's up, Germany? How you guys doing around the world in Dubai? Yes, yes. Welcome to Funk from the Front Seat. And let me not forget Strong Island. Let me not forget Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Westchester, Staten Island. I know y'all are in the house. You can see I'm hyped today. You see I'm rocking my Jets gear. Yeah. We're going to talk about that at the end. But yo, I'm mad proud of the Jets. Jets, Jets. That's what's up. What's up? All my Funketeers around the world. Throw the P-Funk signs in the air. The power of the one, like Gucci says. And let's get this show started. What's happening? What's happening? How you guys doing out there? Welcome to Funk from the Front Seat. I'm your host right here, number nine, my man Mark Lee behind the glass, keeping it real, directed and producing. Our special guest today is none other than Miss Chrissy Key Rollins, holistic restoration healer. She's going to be dropping some knowledge on us about some things that we need to get done. And take care of our mental, take care of our physical, our inside, our outside, how to spread peace, love, harmony. It's a new year, new world, and a new age, and that comes straight from Chrissy. So she's going to be dropping out all this when she gets in. So check this out. First of all, if you got, an anniversary or a birthday, happy birthday again to Miss Linda Scheider. Or, if you're hanging out and, you just got nothing to do and you want to sit around the funk from the front seat with me, please join me. There's plenty of room, always room in the front seat. And I want to give a shout out to a few people that have been helping, push this show out, and people that, you'll hear me talk about from time to time, and people that just support the show. So we're going to start with Benevolent Funk. Thank you, Donna and Otis Hawk. I love y'all. You guys are great. Afterglow 92416. Never leave home without it. So y'all go hit that page up and check that out. P-Funk Radio, of course, JTRP, Brenda Robinson, Robin Denson, Austin, Circle of the P, Gabe, Godzilla Gonzalez, Larry Funkster Jones, all those great shows on P-Funk Radio. Check them out. P-Funk is doing it. And then when you get down by Texas way, Philly Phil. Thank you, Philly Phil, for your support. Love you, man. Get on the funk bus. On Tuesdays, he's popping. It's Sunday nights now. He got something popping. The brother's always hot. Plus he's a phenomenal basketball coach as well. So, definitely want to make sure I shout them out along with Tony Cam. I love you, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. Your store's phenomenal. All your gear is phenomenal. So I want to make sure I shout you out as well. Curtis Wilcox, yo, thank you, man, for all the lovely stuff that you do. constantly hooking it up and, keeping it real with the funk thing. And also Mr. David Brooks, Dr. Brookenstein, he keeps our website running. He's also an assistant right here working on this show, keeping things production, keeping things tight, giving me ideas, constantly giving me feedback so we can make things a lot better for you. I got to make sure I touch base on everybody. I want to make sure I don't forget anybody, because today we got a really good show, and I'm revving to go. I'm excited about it. I'm happy to be going into a new year, a new world, a new age, a new platform. I definitely want to shout out Heidi Wilkinson, our booking agent for Nappy Head Funk Army and all the Nappy Head Funk Army crew. So as we get going, and as I get some more comments, I'll definitely let you guys know what's going on when it comes to things that we got feedback on. Sometimes I can't get to you right away on the show, but I'll always hit you up on Facebook. You can follow me Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, all that good stuff. Yeah, you can always catch the shows out there. So basically sit back, relax, enjoy yourself. We're waiting on Chrissy Key to beam in, and, she's going to be talking about some things, and, we may even address the elephant in the room, but I doubt it. We're going to go somewhere else. Hello, my dear. How you doing from the Mermaid Land? How's everything?
We are doing well this morning. Thanks for having me back. Excited to be here.
Oh, my God, forgive me. I'm so sorry. It's like, I wish I could have had you on earlier, but I was trying to get to this new platform and set things up. And I'm so grateful that you're able to hang out, and make it. And I do have a surprise for you as my guest. I'll make sure I give one of my guests something every week. This is a single, and it's from Next Exit, and it's called Keepers of the Funk, which you are lighting the funk. So as my special guest, you will get this, and I hope you enjoy it, because I know some funky things. So how you been doing? You all right?
Doing well. Feeling the energy of this new year and flowing right along, and excited for this conversation today. And thank you for the gift. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. We're trying to do a little something over here as best we can, and want to make sure all my guests understand how important they are to me, and everything that, we're all building this thing together. So, I'm trying some different things and trying to work out some different things with people, so at least my guests can, have a little something to walk away with, because I appreciate your time and your effort and your love and all of that stuff. That's very, very important. And again, you're my first guest on this brand new format, so I'm honored. It's a pleasure. New year, new world, new age. Right Absolutely. Off the top. Yes, yeah. I wanted to we talked about this earlier, but tell me a little bit about your thoughts on just that phrase alone.
Yeah, so we are obviously in a new year. We have given birth to a new world. If anybody missed the memo, 2020 shifted things, and we are dealing with a completely different world around us as we continue this human journey forward. And we also hit the official mark into a new age. We're in the age of Aquarius. So we are moving out of the age of Pisces over the past several years. We're now fully immersed into Aquarius. And with that brings forth different energetic effects that are going to be making their way to us and through us. And it's going to require a different way of being as we journey forward, because what we have been doing is what got us here, and to get to where we're going requires a little bit different maneuvering to continue this journey forward. So it's up to each and every single one of us to do our part as individuals, and the better that we can understand these shifts that are happening, or let me say more specifically, the better I understand these shifts that are happening around us, then we can better navigate the shifts that are happening within us. And that's part of what we're facing in this 2020 year, is that we have split into two worlds. Some of us have moved on and are moving forward in this new world, and some people are still stuck in the old world. And it's completely up to you what experience you have. And even within that division of these two worlds and this splintering off, we have to give recognition as we journey forward that we're always a part of two worlds. We have the world that's happening around us, and we have the world that's happening within us. And if we're constantly just reacting to, at the mercy of, being victimized by the world around us, we're going to keep having the same experience that we were having last stage, last decade, last millennium. And it's just time to evolve. And those that are ready are doing it. And those that aren't are feeling I would say the consequences of it, the suffering of it, but it's not really a punishment. It's just you're going to keep getting what you're getting if you keep giving what you're giving.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good way to put it. I was telling Mark before you had popped on it, and I was like, I've been immersed the past 2 weeks, just isolated writing. I didn't really want to deal with people out. I was just trying to channel a lot of stuff inside, to try to make it positive and creative. And I was reading different things, and I told you I'm spiritual, and I read all kinds of things, and I pull something out, and one of the paraphrases of it was about don't you can't believe your way out of something you behaved your way into. And I was like, okay, I can write around that, but I thought about you a lot over the past 2 weeks, and I couldn't wait to do this show because it seems like we set this up before Christmas.
Yeah.
And it always seems like you're on at the right time. It just works out that way. So I never question it. So, yeah, and I haven't seen you since like Christmas. Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah, so I haven't seen you since last year, and I know you had a birthday, so happy belated and all that good stuff.
Thank
too.
you. Appreciate that. Yep, absolutely.
So it's in the new year, right? That we are in now. If we have an opportunity as human beings to go in it and tinker with that thing that might be slightly off in all of us, where would you say we start?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if we use our past experience as a reference or as a guidepost, I think that this would be really helpful. Think back for a moment where you were and what was happening in your world, what was happening within your mindset, your inner world, your outer world, when we were closing up 2019. Just take yourself back there. I know it's a lifetime ago, but go ahead and project yourself back there.
My face.
Right, 2019, it was a long time ago. So at the end of 2019, we were gearing up for a new year. We were actually trudging right through January, much like how we're doing this year, right? But it was different. It was different. We knew that we didn't know what was on the horizon. We knew we didn't know what was going to happen in the world, but we did not know that we were going to face everything that we came into counter with in 2020. So now put yourself back to where we're at. As you move from 2020 into 2021, you have the gift, the ability to move into 2021 with that knowledge, with that awareness pushed to the forefront of your mind in a way that you previously have not done. And you get to enter 2021 knowing that you have no idea what the future is going to bring. You have no idea what is going to happen. We are venturing into the unknown. And what's weird is that we've been doing this all along. We've been doing it all along, but we just spent almost a full year of that being really pushed into the forefront of our mind, that we don't know what happens next, that death is a part of this human experience, that we never know what's going to happen, who it's going to happen to. So we could say, oh, great, now we're just getting more of the same, more unknowingness, more victimization, more of that suppression, more of that limitation, more restriction, more stuff that I don't like. Or you can flip that around and you can realize, well, now that I have the foresight, the awareness that I have no idea what lies on the horizon, that anything is possible, now we don't have to be so blindsided. Now we can realize that we're more equipped. Now we can shift out of being the victim of our circumstance, and we can start to ask ourselves two very important questions. One being, what is it that I'm bringing to this world? What is it that I'm bringing to the world? If we want change, if we want difference, if we want equality, if we want justice, what am I bringing to the world? What are you bringing to the world that falls into alignment with this? How are you being in each and every moment? What are your conversations? What are your words? What are your interactions? How are you treating those around you? Not how are you judging them? Not how are you comparing them? Not how could they be different or more or change? But what are you bringing to the world? That would be the first question that I would ask myself, and I encourage you to do the same thing. And then the second question, and this is where we get into the deep stuff. This is where we get into the new age. This is where we move out of the Piscean ways of just trying to stay in our victim state and escaping through fantasy and feeling very like everything's happening to us when it's happening around us. And we can instead move into the age of Aquarius, which is very inquisitive. It's very curious. It wants to know. So when we step into the age of Aquarius, we move past what am I bringing to the world and what's the world doing to me? But what am I bringing to the world? And then what are you bringing to your world?
Yeah.
Because life around you is going to unfold how life around you is going to unfold. We got one part participation. What are we bringing to that unfoldment? The next participation, which is the one that I invite all of you who are watching this to really sit with, to reflect on, to engage with, to bring some curiosity around. What are you bringing to your world? Because if you haven't caught on yet, none of this is going to line up the way that you want it, how you want it all the time, because we didn't come here to please the ego. We came here to evolve it.
Yes.
So if you have been bringing the good, if you've been bringing the consciousness, the awareness, if you've been bringing all of that to the forefront, if you've been bringing the kindness, the compassion, the equality, the justice, if you've been bringing that to the world, ask yourself, what are you bringing to your world? Because everything that happens out here gets filtered through our own individual filtration system so that we can make sense of it, process it, interpret it. And it's going to be based on how things look, how they sound, how they smell, how they taste, those 5 basic senses that have all been I don't want to say ingrained in us, but we have been taught our ways to navigate this world. Well, in order to really evolve that, you have to move beyond what it looks like, what it smells like, what it tastes like, and get connected to the fact that all of that is just a filter of this divine unfolding that's happening around you at all times. And if you want to get to the good stuff, you got to stop waiting for it to show up out here. And you got to work on those filters so that what you are experiencing inside yourself, in your world, what are you bringing to your world internally with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your emotions, and your thought process and way that you make choice.
Yep.
Your decision-making process to what you bring back out into this world. That's what's going to make the difference. And that's what's going to really determine your overall life experience. But it's going to make a difference on where you are putting more of your energy. Is it in those things that you cannot control? If you need a list of things that you cannot control, please see 2020 because it will highlight all the things that are outside of your control.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And you can turn that attention to where you can truly be effective, not only effective for yourself, but be more effective for those around you by paying attention to what are you bringing to your world, because somebody could be serving you something that is the best thing ever. And if it's not wrapped in the package that you expected or how you want it to be, or if it sounds gruff or too in your face or whatever it is that is triggering you on the inside, you can miss all the goodness that's wrapped inside if you're still judging and again, projecting our superiority, our moral superiority, our spiritual superiority, our egoic superiority of knowing more, being better, deserving more, whatever that thing is, then you're going to shortchange your experience. And really, at the end of the day, you got nobody to blame except for yourself.
That's right. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. A few things I'm going to get to. But again, here we are hanging out with Chrissy Key Rollins, holistic restoration healer. Her information is flashing on the bottom. And, you know, she's a regular guest now on my shows. I'm so grateful to have her in my life. She's just truly amazing. You're hanging out on Funk from the Front Seat on 9 on the Grind TV. It's a new platform. And you guys are always welcome to jump in, send some comments in, and follow, you know, everything that we're doing, you know, on Facebook and YouTube and all the platforms or whatever. But it's funny because remember about 3 weeks ago, I sent you a quick text, right? I'm always texting her just so you know, you guys know out there, she's one of my go-tos. Anybody watching, I always and I try not to disturb her, but I said, I was trying, because I'm an Aries warrior, that whole thing. And, you know, I was trying to let you know that this thing was coming. I couldn't put it into words. Because remember I said, hey, I'm drained. I was like, I gotta sleep. I was like, something's coming. I don't know what it is. And see, as a natural Aries, we're the fire sign, we're the warrior. We can always sense. And I told my other friend this the other day. I said, we can sense when it's going to be conflict. You know, not only me, but, you know, other people can as well. But I could feel it. And I was like, oh, okay. And that really helped me that day. I just wanted to tell you that. That was really cool. That really helped me prepare, you know, and And then when I saw your slogan, New Year, New World, New Age, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. So, New World,
Mhm.
as we shift and we make this shift, New World, tell me a little bit about how you view what we viscerally see as the new world, as light workers, as people of, spiritual faith and healing, and able to get into different energy levels. Tell us your feeling, and let my audience know about the new world.
Yeah, so absolutely. As light workers, we have the ability to see beyond what meets the eye. And that's kind of the whole trick to the game. Is what is it, again, kind of like what I referenced before, what are you bringing to the world, or what do you feel like the world's bringing to you that you bring into your inner world? If we just go off those basic five senses, we're limited by the definitions that we hold as people that we agree upon. So someone with a certain tone of voice means a certain kind of emotion behind it, or they have a certain kind of intention behind it. But really, we can change our tone of voice all the time, and it just comes into how you experience that expression will be the experience that you have. So in this new world, we have to be able to see beyond what meets the eye and challenge ourselves to see beyond what's happening on the physical realm. And when we step into this way of being, it is very helpful to recognize the fact that everything happens on an energetic level before it happens on a physical level.
Right.
So for most of us, we think, well, this isn't the new world. This isn't the life that I asked for. This isn't the answer to my prayers. This isn't getting better. Are you kidding me? Have you turned on the news? Have you been on social media? Everything's getting worse and worse and worse. And people are getting nastier and nastier and nastier. And we're getting more and more severed and divided, and more conflict. And there's just more of what we don't want happening out there in the world. Or are we witnessing the leftover residue of what the old was breaking down before us? Because this is something that's often not talked about in the spiritual world, or in the world of manifestation and law of attraction. When we're talking about creating our life reality, creating what it is, consciously creating our world and our day-to-day experience, what is not spoken about a lot in the creation process is the fact that the creation and the destruction process are the very exact same process. So many of us are sitting in our life saying, I want something to change. I want something to change. I want something to change. But we don't do anything different, because really, we don't want things to change. We don't want to lose the roof over our head. We don't want to lose that partner in our life. We don't want to face some kind of failure that we feel like we have going on in our life. We don't want to give up watching TV late at night. We don't want to give up the alcohol and the sweets. We don't want to be without it. So do you want to change? And do you want to change as much as you want things to stay the same? Because somewhere within our own mindset, we know that in order for things to change, things have to be different. And if you're not willing to risk losing what you have now, it's going to be a lot harder for you to gain what it is that you want, because that new can't come in and take up the space that the old is clogging up.
That's right.
So if we collectively as a people, and I believe that we have been tipping the scales over the past several decades and shifting the consciousness of this collective human experience and moving beyond this, we can't move past the contrast, because that's just, quite frankly, our language here on this earth. We deal in the world of contrast. So we can't just have all light. We can't have all good. But what we can do as light workers is that we can honor, and we can talk about, and we can discuss, and we can not shy away from the opposite of that, the shadow side of that. And when you really bring it into full spectrum, you can begin to see that the shadow side is the same thing as the light, is the same as the shadow, because we're only ever dealing with one thing. And in that place of being able to expand beyond what is happening in the physical, expand beyond right and wrong, expand beyond your judgment, expand beyond what you are seeing, to anchor in and to root into that which you know to be true, or that which you believe to be truth for you beyond what you are seeing. That's when you start to tip the scales. And that's when you start to relax into the destruction process, because you realize the only things that are going to chip away are, one, the things that agreed to go in the first place.
Right.
And two, the things that need to go in order to make room for what it is that you want.
Yep. That's right. That's right. That's right.
And a lot of us are afraid to give up what it is that we're used to, even though we know that as we stick with it, we're not having space or room or time or energy for the things that we really desire.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
consciously tell ourselves we're going to do something different. We subconsciously show up for the same assignment every day, and we get stuck into these holding patterns, tripping over ourselves in our pursuit for something more, in our pursuit for something different, in our pursuit for having things change. So where
Right.
my specialty is, and what I focus on when I work with individuals or myself or my friends or family members, is that we have to bring in the wholeness. We have to bring in the wholeness of ourselves. We have to bring in the wholeness of the individual that we're dealing with. We have to bring in the wholeness of all that is happening all at one time, so that we can sit there and we can shed the tears. We can let the heart break. We can let it all fall apart, knowing that it's just clearing way for what is next to come. We could break this down like super duper simple. Let's just think about the hunger and eating process. You don't even think about it until it's that time again. When you start to get hungry, most of us have learned not to get into a panic. Most of us can not get into a panic and just start thinking, oh, okay, I'm hungry. What are my options? What can I do to feed myself? What's on the menu for today? I mean, some of us do have to get kind of savvy and figure that stuff out along the way, for sure. Meal to meal, that's a reality for some of us, especially right now. However, when you think about wanting something to eat, you don't instantly have food appear in front of you. And when you don't instantly have food appear in front of you, you don't typically freak out, because you know you got to go through a series of steps before that food's going to be there. So if we can take that same concept, it's something that we do all the time. We can break this down simple again. We get into our cars we used to get into our cars every day. Not all of us are getting into our cars every day. Some of us are getting into the funk from the front seat every day, and some of us aren't. But when we get into our vehicles and we drive, we don't think about the fact that whenever I turn this key, that the ignition may or may not start. Most of us, we just go through the motions and we start it. We don't think about, oh, I could get into 97 different car accidents before I even leave my neighborhood. We don't think about that. We just do it and we drive. Yet we venture into the unknown. We don't know what we're going to face. We have faith that when we turn the key, that ignition's going to start. When we push the pedal, the gas is going to go. Like, these things are things that we do all the time and we don't think twice about it. In fact, while we're doing those things, we're usually thinking, where am I going? What time do I need to be there? Why is this guy cutting me off? We got all this other world that's happening as we're part of this other world, right? So you see, we're doing this all the time. We're going through these faithful motions all the time. We're doing what it is that we know is going to lead to what we ultimately want, and we're not freaking out along the way. I mean, not more than necessary. I'm kind of a freaker outer. I have a high anxiety life. I don't know if anybody else is constantly overwhelmed by the world, but I'm constantly overwhelmed by the world. It's why I've created an entire business that allows me to focus on having these conversations all the time, because if I stay focused on talking to you about it, it's going to help me to stay grounded and focused, right?
Exactly.
So we're going through these actions all the time. And when we can take that awareness and we can just bring it over into a new experience, somewhere that we haven't had that much experience, we haven't gotten it through 2020 enough times that we know that we can do it while we're thinking about 15 other things, right? Then we can start to trust the journey a little bit more. We can understand at every moment, at every time, one, we're all going to die. None of us are going to make it out here alive. It's not part of the program. It's going to happen. Yeah. Along the way, we're going to lose loved ones. I wish that it wouldn't happen. I so wish that it wouldn't happen for myself or any of my family members or for anybody who is watching this or anyone else. I wish that we didn't have to go through that, but we do. It's inevitable. We face the unknown every day, and every moment we are facing the unknown. I can tell you what I think is going to happen, but we don't really know until it does or it doesn't. So if we can start to realize we're already intuitively following this pattern, this coding, this programming within our lives, we can consciously start to bring it over to other aspects of our lives. And we can start to realize there's no difference in getting in that car and driving to wherever it is that you got to go to do whatever it is that you think you got to do. Then there is stepping into the full awareness, the full present moment of right now, and making a choice that's different than what you made before. knowing that there is no right or wrong, that this is just clearing the way. Whatever comes up just needs to get out of the way so that you can live more fully into the life experience that you desire. And I feel that happens not when everything lines up around me just so, but when I know that I'm being as true to myself as possible, I am bringing the fullness of myself into every moment, and I am bringing and welcoming in the fullness of the other people that I'm dealing with, even if the splintered off part of them that I'm actually interacting with isn't representing that or isn't in touch with it as well. But if I wait for their world to change in order to change my world, we're going to be stuck in this holding pattern for quite some time. But
That's
when we
right.
realize,
And, you made some very good points, because when we do move stuff out the way so this new stuff can come in, I think, like you mentioned, a lot of the anxiety, extra stuff kicks in besides just life, because we're like, hey, how can I, like you said, live without this? How can I, but with not realizing that we could be, just making room for that new thing. For my audience out there, again, we're hanging out with Chrissy Key Rollins, holistic restoration healer, amazing woman, amazing spirit on in this journey, in this energy source at this time on this planet. And I appreciate that, and thank you. Can you kind of walk our audience through how they may be able to simply recharge, not a complete reboot, but I think a lot of people sometimes may want to recharge or reboot, so to speak, and they might not know I don't want to say a quick way to do it, but let's just say a less complicated way. If they're just now understanding where we are, and they just now click that light on, and they're like, oh, wow, I'm in this thing now. Now I'm here, but I don't know what to do with it. Can you give people a little insight about how they may actually go about doing that?
Totally, absolutely. So one of the things that keeps us in the most angst and the most suffering, the thing that you could instantly switch like a light switch in any situation that will help to bring in instant relief, as far as our perception, how we're interpreting things, how we're seeing things, how we're experiencing things, is to realize what it is that drains your energy. Now, most of us will think, well, this person drains my energy, or this work situation drains my energy. But really, if you start to look at it, that's also, taking the responsibility off yourself. It's saying that you're a victim of what is happening around you. And what would be more helpful is to understand what's happening within you whenever you engage with this person or this situation. And what you'll find at the root of most of it that drains our energy lies judgment, or we could also say self-judgment.
Right.
A lot of times judgment's what we project outwardly, but really the only reason we project outward judgment is because we have self-judgment. We would not judge other people if we were not judging ourselves in comparison to them. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that judging and self-judging is at the root of most energy drains that are happening within our lives. We're judging our situation. We're judging the other person. We're judging what we deserve. We're judging what was happening. And all of that judging is very, very draining.
Yeah.
So when you find yourself getting the energy drained, when you find yourself tipping or just thinking like, what the world is going on, or why did they say that? Why did they do that? Why are we going through this again? When you feel that angst start to rise up, and challenge yourself to be very honest and recognize, what is it that you're judging? How are you perceiving the situation? Just take it into your awareness. It's not a right or wrong. You're right for the judgment, wrong. This is just awareness. Awareness is always, always the first step, because you're never going to break out of cycles of anxiety, cycles of abuse, cycles of suffering, depression, unless you first have the awareness. We don't make a move towards something to eat until we have the awareness that we're hungry or we're going to be hungry, right?
Yep.
So once you have that awareness there, even if you can't figure it out, just bring your awareness there. What that does is that it brings you back to the present moment, right here, right now. It allows you to kind of get out of this out here thinking, and it bring you right back here to the here and now. And in that awareness, as you come back to the now, the most powerful tool that you can use, this is a free tool, anybody can access it. You don't even need Wi-Fi to do it. It's using your breath. Now, breath is an interesting thing. Some argue there's just really curious when you start to think about breath. Are you breathing or are you being breathed through? Are you making that breath move, or is that breath moving and inflating and inhaling you? We don't know. This is the curiosity about life. Welcome to my world. This is what I like to explore all the time.
I got you.
In this place of breath, we can realize that it is a very powerful tool. In fact, it is so powerful. Do you know the difference? Physiologically speaking, this has been studied by scientists, psychologists, all those people. The only difference between fear and enthusiasm, they're the exact same physiological effects. We have the same impulses, the same triggers that go off inside the body, but there's one difference. And the one difference between fear and enthusiasm is that with fear, you shut down your breath. You stop breathing.
Wow. That's deep.
So in essence and in literalness, if you, in moments of fear, can get your breath to move, you can shift your own energy from fear to enthusiasm. Now, it might take a little bit more mental gymnastics and a little bit more discipline to really get into an enthusiastic state whenever you're facing fear. But if you just drop in the narrative that I can only be feeling this if there's something for me to move, clear, something for me to receive on the other side, now you might face that fear a little bit differently. But we can get to that point. For right now, because we're at the beginning, we're looking for awareness. I'm feeling angst. There must be some kind of judgment. If I can't pinpoint it now, maybe that's a good reflection point for later when I've calmed down, when I'm not quite as triggered. And then get that breath moving. The other thing that's interesting about breath, besides the fact that it's like a vitamin, a nutrient, it satiates all the cells of your body. And most of us are shallow breathers. Most of us don't breathe enough. Most of us hold our breath in. I mean, like most of us are like literally holding our breath, waiting for something to happen. So getting that breath moving, making sure that you're oxygenating your fingertips, your toes, all the nooks and crannies in your body, getting yourself fully oxygenated is just as powerful as getting yourself fully hydrated or, satiated with nutrients. But the other thing about breath is that that's how we entrain with one another. Mm-hmm. So my spirit and your spirit hook up and get intertangled whenever our breath syncs up. And if you're not conscious and you're not paying attention, as humans, we naturally sync up to the breath of those that are around us.
Yeah,
that's why some people agitate us and why some people we relax around. It's what happens. So if you're starting to experience a situation or a person that you don't desire, focus your attention back on your breathing and notice if the other person is ramped up, if they're agitated, if their senses are heightened, chances are they are not breathing. And if they are, more than what is absolutely necessary to sustain life, they'll probably have very short breaths. They probably are not breathing very deeply. They're probably living on the very top of their lung capacity and at the very surface of this life experience. And your ability to breathe when others can't is one of the most powerful things that you can do, not only for yourself, but for the other person. Because the first thing that's going to happen is that you're going to break your entrainment with that other person. So you will not be carrying their energy. You ever have that happen where like you're just hanging out in your house, having a great day, someone comes in and all of a sudden all their emotional energy's on you and now you're stirred up and now you're in the middle of a fight. And you're like, I don't even understand how we got here. How you got here is that you weren't paying attention and being responsible with your energy and your breath, and your energy and breath got intertangled with somebody else's energy and breath, and they were able to transmit that all over to you. By breathing slowly, by breathing deeply, not only do you become back into your own conscious awareness, can get back into your own conscious choice making, but you break that entrainment with the other person. And what's really, really cool is that you can begin to breathe for that person. You can slow their breathing down because they're doing the same thing. They're subconsciously syncing up to the energy that's around them. And as you master your own energy and you start to take control of it and you center and calm yourself back into this present moment, you will bring that other person with you. And this can work for 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds. If you ever get into a situation in which you got a little temper tantrum on your hands, or you see your kid getting worked up, or you see somebody else's kid, maybe you're out in this doesn't happen quite as much again in our society, but say you're out somewhere in public and you see somebody else's kid having a tantrum, you can breathe for that kid and you can help that entire family.
Right. That's really, really a deep concept. I know. First of all, hello, Brenda. A few people are watching, chiming in, and they say, hey, you're very interesting. You got it going on and you're rocking that. But I know music has that effect, and I learned that early on about that one heartbeat, on the one, power of the one, Bootsy Collins. And congratulations, Bootsy, by the way. He just got the AARP nomination and award for Martin Luther King Jr. So Bootsy Collins, congratulations on the award, the Cincinnati AARP. He just got the award, and we're proud of you, Bootsy, and Peppermint Patty, y'all keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, so in music, sometimes when you're playing and you can see things are out of sync, but when that band or that group of energy spirits get synced in, whether it's music or whatever, sports or whatever, and like you said, they're all pulsating on that one breath, that one vibe, like Bob Marley said, one love. When that thing is popping just right, like you said, it becomes this thing that nothing pretty much can go wrong inside of it. I've noticed that a lot. And you said something very interesting about people coming in and out of your lives and your space with that baggage, that energy. And I think now, more so than ever, Chrissy, we have to all be deflectors of that stuff we don't need to carry, because we're obviously carrying a lot.
Yeah, so I'd like to, if I can, I want to take that to the next level. I want to say that deflecting it is old. It's the old ways. It's part of what has gotten us here. And instead of deflecting it, we need to realize that there's nothing to fear with it. It's not a sign that you've done something wrong. It's not somebody who's toxic. It's somebody who has forgotten their wholeness. Right. Or is it? Is it a spiritual being doing exactly what that spiritual being is supposed to be doing so that you can get in touch of the times that you abandon your wholeness?
Right.
So instead of deflecting, I would love to just invite you to consider and reflect on and just try it on for size of opening yourself up to transmuting that energy, to recognizing it for what it is, allowing it to be what it is, and then also recognizing what it is not. Because this is part of what's gotten us into this sticky situation. We're so worried to not be that which we're afraid that we are, that we don't realize that by honoring what things actually are, what you are not naturally falls away. Right, so we get afraid of those that trigger us. We want to move away from them, and we want to say that they're the ones that we don't need to be around. And I'm not saying that this is what you're saying, but this is a common thought. But what ends up happening is that we don't realize the one who holds the toxicity is wherever you go, because it comes up within you. It's not something that they bring on. So perhaps they could be a little bit more mindful of their energy. Perhaps they can step out of some victim states, or perhaps you need to evolve the way that you interpret them so that you see nothing other than your beloved who has forgotten who they are, the light trying to find the light again. And when we can realize that we are the light and that we're here to be the light and to remind others that when they have forgotten that they are also the light, then we can allow that energy to come to us. We know that it's not taking anything from us. It isn't adding to our value if we are better than that, or decreasing from our value if we allow it to happen. It just simply is what it is, and we can allow it to flow. We can allow it to transmute, and then we can bring the wholeness back to the equation. Because if you only send it back out into the world, it's just going to be that same experience, that same judgment pinging around. And instead, we can say, well, that might be part of the experience of what happens as I transmute this energy. Because believe me, I've transmuted energy that was thrown my way and the other person was not interested. So they just took their energy and pointed it in another direction. So that's a natural thing that can happen as well. But I would love to just expand that conversation and that thinking just a little bit more to say there's nothing for us to fear. There's nothing for us to lose. There is nothing that you can lose that is meant to be yours. And it's okay to be radically honest in a compassionate, vulnerable way that honors the wholeness of other people as well, and the rightness of every moment. Because remember, it's not that there's right or wrong things happening. This is just where we're at in the physical timeline for this inevitable energetic unfolding that we're all collectively participating with.
Right. You break it down deep. This is why I love having you, Chrissy Key Rollins, right here on Funk from the Front Seat, 9 on the Grind TV, on a brand new platform. And I'm very grateful to the universe for setting it up so we can actually do this. And, when I first met you, I said, definitely want you to be a regular, because when you come back and you drop this knowledge, it always kind of replenishes my show and my energy and my listeners and my audience, because we get into so much of the funk, and we get into so much of the other stuff that's going on. Every now and then I need to come in and just have you just be this sage and come in and just like heal everything that I really want to do, and that we're doing together, you, me, and a lot of other people that are out there trying to put this positive thing together. So speaking of which, tell me a little bit about your business. I know Patron is really a big thing, and you're blowing that up. So tell the audience a little bit about what you're doing on that, because I think they really, really need to know. And I would suggest you guys drop her, follow her, drop her a line, talk to her. I'm telling you, this woman is really, really deep. And she knows what she's talking about. Trust me when I tell you. So, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. So yes, I have a page on Patreon. If you're not familiar with that, it's a membership community. You have full control over how much you give monthly, how long you give. It's totally up to you. And at each different membership level, you get to unlock access to more exclusive trainings and connection with me along the way. So one of the levels that I'm most jazzed up about for 2021 is that last year for 2020, I had the insight going into the year that people are going to need support. I had insight and just channeled and downloaded that there was going to be devastation and disappointment that hit right as we were going into the start of spring, which we all know what happened. I didn't see that coming, but I had this instinct feeling that people were going to be disappointed, and that someone needed to be there to let them know how to stay the course. So I began a holistic healing circle, and each month throughout 2020, I took them through the 12 levels of holistic restoration. And it was such a powerful journey. It was so on point with everything that was happening in the world and what we were dealing with in our day-to-day lives, that I knew that this potent energy and conversation needed to continue in 2021. But this time, instead of starting it from the point that, okay, there's something for you to learn along the way and work through these levels, this time I'm going to revisit each of these levels and just get to the practical, tangible, integrative tips that we can use. So how do you take this level of holistic restoration? For example, the first level is expand. So when we think about this concept of expansion and expanding on the physical, emotional, spiritual, and metaphysical level, then when we are bringing this in for a healing concept, how does that look when we're dealing with the body? The physical body. Right. This is the place of angst for people, having to just be present in the body, having to deal with your physical bodies, the limitations, the challenges that we face physically within our own self. How do we take this concept of expansion, and what does that look like on the day-to-day when dealing with our body? The next thing that I took it over into is, how do we take this over into our relationships? This is the next area of our life. I find that people get angst in dealing with their physical self, and then we run into angst in dealing with others. These could be family members. This could be people online. This could be people within your own household. We're all kind of a little bit more cooped up these days and spending more time around each other. So how does it look like whenever you take this holistic expression of expansion and bring it into your day-to-day life with your relationships? And then the last focus that we take, and I just hit on this little bite-sized trainings throughout the month, the last focus is, how do we take that level of holistic restoration and bring it over into our financial world, our abundance, our professional world, our resources, how we make a living and sustain our life? Because I found that a lot of people run into the body limitations, they run into the relationship limitations, and then they run into money, financial limitations, how much they earn, how much they attract, where that money comes from, just knowing that all of your needs are going to be met and that the resources are going to be provided for you. So this year, as we're going through the different levels of holistic restoration, we're taking them and we're just putting like rubber to the road. We are saying, right, this is how you take this, and this is what you're going to run into. When you're not using expansion, this is what life is like. This is what you do to expand it. Just like how we talked about it today. You can be dealing with some sloppy jerk that shows up in your life and dumps themselves emotionally and energetically all over you, or you can expand that concept to understand that you have got your next assignment as angel duty, and it's up to you to decide how you are going to best represent your whole self in this moment, right?
That's right.
So that's what the Healing Circle is focused on for this year. I made a level in the Patreon page, so it could be a really easy membership option for people to get plugged into. It comes with weekly bite-sized trainings. These trainings are like 20 minutes or less, because I'm really getting to the meat and the heart of how to work with these concepts, because that's what I realized. Like, moving forward, we just need the practical. We need the tactical. A lot of us are ready to just surrender it over and follow the rules on how to move forward in a more empowered way, and that's what I'm going to be delivering. So there's levels that you can start out that are less than that, that'll get you plugged into the energy updates that I do, the Runecast energy forecast that I do. I have another level that incorporates more business talk and more business support for those that are feeling that calling to follow their own lead in their financial life, and especially those who were trying to pivot in 2020. Maybe you lost a business, or maybe you need to pivot that business, or maybe you realize that you don't want to work in a work environment that causes you to compromise who you are or your belief system, because I know a lot of people are facing that. They're feeling impinged upon in being able to fully express how they want to live their life within their work environment. So they want to venture out and do their own entrepreneurial endeavor. So I have a holistic business mastermind. That's a level that you can participate in as well, where I take the 14 years of experience that I have in the entrepreneurial world and I just simplify it. I'm all about keeping it simple. I might get really deep or out there with my concepts, but really at the end of the day, I'm about keeping it simple, making it very black and white, where you can't fail at it if you just are committed to trying something different. And so all of it that I put out through Patreon is focused on helping you to get more in touch with yourself, to trust yourself more, to redefine how the world around you works, and to give you that practical, tangible tools, supports, and insight so that you can bring these holistic concepts over into your world, again, in a very simple way, and it can help you to reduce overwhelm and to promote work-life balance. And that's where my passion is, and that's what I'm going to be focused on this year. So I'm pouring everything that I can through the Patreon page. I'm going to be using my YouTube channel more as a resource guide for people. So sharing information like, what do different runes from the rune set that I use, what are the meaning behind them, what are the healing properties of different crystals and gemstones, so you can utilize those. I'm going to be sharing a breakdown of astrology and the different signs. Yeah, see your gorgeous labradorite there. This is a really gorgeous labradorite that I wear a lot, almost like every single day. So I'm just going to be keeping it simple, keeping it bite-sized, keeping everything like 20 minutes or less, so that we can just get this in, have no excuse. That's it. Just really taking away the excuses for people. There's no excuse not to have a more fulfilling life experience. And part of what motivated and inspired all this is the feedback that I got when I checked in with my clients at the end of 2020. 2020 was a rough year. It was crazy. But client after client after client, people that were in my support group, people that worked with me one-on-one especially, but those that were in my support group, all of them said, Chrissy, this was my best year. I've never been in a better place financially. I've never had a better job. My partner and I have never gotten along better, whatever that thing was for them. And I realized my people are winning. They're winning. Because they're committed to doing it different, and there is a different way. And if you want it, it is there for you, but it's going to require for you to be different. And not everybody's ready for that. And I have learned not to judge that, because we're all where we're at in this beautiful unfolding. We all have our place. We all have our non-place. And it's not for any of us to rush anybody else along. We also don't have to have guidance and support. We have all of this intuitively within us. So if that is what calls to you, then that's what direction to go. But I know for certain that the path that I'm laying down for people to follow, the tools that I'm bringing to the table, they're universal, they're accessible to everybody, and they take away all the excuses. So if you're tired of it and you want a different way, let's connect, let's talk. And I always give people my time just to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation to get a reading on where you're at, what you want, and what you feel like is holding you back. And then if I've got something in my wheelhouse that I can offer up, I'm going to send it your way. And if there's another direction for you to go, that's going to be very clear. But at least you have that peace of mind in knowing.
Yeah, that's deep because as an entrepreneur and you're actually doing this amazing spiritual work, all positive, all good, and one of the mantras of my new platform here was always peace, love, and harmony, and I say that a lot, but I really do mean that. Everybody has gone through stuff in life, and you come out, and then you realize, okay, now you have to kind of pivot, change, whether it be health issues, whether it be, relationship issues, whether it be business issues, you can't quite get going, you're stuck in the mud or whatever. And I always felt that, well, maybe now it's my time, and I was just telling Peppermint Patty this the other day. I was like, ask not what the funk can do for you, but ask what you can do for your funk. And by funk, I mean the whole thing, because you know me, right? So it's like, I was like, okay, I understand fully, and I had known this for a while, but okay, I am supposed to be doing this. This is exactly where I am, because right now people need this until the other thing can come back. And I've been completely inspired by, Mark Lee and, people at StreamYard. And hello, Kim, if you're watching, I know you're not feeling well, so I hope you feel better. And I've been inspired, especially by Peppermint Patty and Bootsy Collins, because, watching them do their foundations and all the positive energy and all the Funketeers out there that you guys are watching. I want you guys to know each and every one of you inspire me. I don't have time to name you all, but we get on the thread and we talk all the time about this very thing, with this beautiful spirit right here, this beautiful woman, Chrissy Key Rollins, holistic restoration healer. And now, okay, new year, new world. Let's go to new age, okay? Because age, people say new age, and we always think like, hey, I'm going to the future. Now some of us can go there and come back. I ain't gonna tell you how, but new age is I said last year, and I started this on a whim, the veil has been lifted. When I first had you on my show a long time ago, I said, the veil has been lifted. That was the beginning. So this new age, where does that fit in when I open my eyes tomorrow if I'm watching?
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to take this 2 levels again. So we got this outside cosmic thing that's happening, right? We've moved into the age of Aquarius, which is very much about understanding how things work. This is getting back to like the roots and the basics of understanding our human experience, what it's like to interact here on this earth. That's very Aquarian. Aquarians are usually the outliers in the scientific, in the mathematical field, because they just want to know it all. They want to know it all. They also are, they're an air sign, and they're the water bringers or the water bearers. And often they're confused as a water sign, but they're not a water sign. They're an air sign. They're the air that directs the flow of the water. So this is a time for us to take back control of our own navigation and our own influence over the waters around us. Now, water can also be interpreted as emotions, our emotional state of being. That's the water side of us. So when it comes to directing the emotions, it's our own internal emotion so that we can better navigate and interact with this world around us. And it is also understanding that our energy has an effect on the energy around us, and it's going to have some sway into what's happening. This is going to do 2 things as a society. It's one, it's going to agitate the hell out of us, quite frankly, because everybody's going to be trying to direct everybody else. And the other thing is that it's going to require us to take responsibility for the energy that we bring to the world and understand that we have the power in what happens in this world. We are the ones that are funding the industry that is keeping us suppressed. And as soon as we wake up to that and we understand, oh, wait a second, I don't have to participate in any of this stuff. And when I stop participating, it has no power. You see the power of that? Like, we could take that on so many levels. Maybe that needs to be a podcast in itself.
It will be.
So we have the power to influence the direction of what comes next. And the best way to know that we're influencing it in a way that really is to the highest good is to have a fundamental and really deep understanding of what this physical world is about and our place in it. That's very Aquarian. That is what is up next. That's why so many people are questioning what the heck is going on. That's why so many people are getting splintered and divided and want to control one another right now. Everybody wants to say, no, this is how the world works. This is how the world works. This is what's going on. This is what's going on, right? I don't know if you've experienced that at all, but I try to keep my little tentacles spread around so I can get a good barometer on what's happening with like everybody out there. It's part of what I'm here for. Plus, it helps me understand why I'm so freaking overwhelmed all the time, because everybody keeps freaking out. If y'all just stop freaking out, I could just relax, right?
A little bit, right?
Oh, okay.
Empath, that's what we are. You know what I'm
You got
saying?
it.
That's what we do.
You got it. You got it. So we have that world energy that's happening right now, this new age world energy. Plus, again, Pisces is very victimizing, very fantastical, very much escapism. That's all very, very prone to addictions. That's all very Pisces energy, very easily depressed because you're attached and connected to all the feelings, right? And plus, also with Pisces, you kind of lose a sense of who you are. You kind of get spread out. You're the type of water that like spreads all around, and then you don't know where you end and other things start. Aquarius is different than that. Aquarius is decisive. Aquarius is, again, controlling. Aquarius is very scientific, very mathematical. So Aquarius is going to look at that Piscean way and be like, okay, now let's take it back over to this model and see how we can work with this, because Aquarius is not going to be a victim of their circumstances. Anything more than understanding that they're always a victim of their circumstances, because that's part of the mathematical, scientific thing that we're a part of, okay? So we have this energy that's happening out here. And then what does it happen whenever we wake up in our day-to-day life? How are you going to take all of that I just said is happening outwardly and bring that over into your own life, into your own world, into your own decision-making, so that you can understand how you influence people, how you can understand that it's time to get down to the mathematics and the scientific and just really the understanding the basic fundamentals. And I'm not talking about just this 3D basic fundamentals. I'm talking beyond that, 4D beyond, right? So 5D beyond that. So we're not talking about how this is a solid state of matter. We're talking about how that solid state of matter is made of the same moving molecules and energy and nothingness as everything else. So we got to take it to the whole next level, right? But when we think about moving into a new age, what came to my mind as you asked me this, and I'm trusting this is the message that needs to come through, is as you age, chronologically as a human, we talk about how we mature, right? So we're all in this forced physical maturing, and we all energetically and emotionally mature at different rates, at different stages. So you might be dealing with a 40-year-old man who is emotionally, energetically operating from a 12-year-old mindset, right? So if we are moving into a new age, what does that mean for you in your world? Is it's time for you to move into your next level of emotional, spiritual, and energetic maturity. And with maturity comes a sense of responsibility for your energy and the energy that you bring to the world, and how that energy influences and pushes people in other directions. And that's all based upon the scientific and basic mathematical fundamentals that you hold in your belief system of how this world works. So you see what I just did there? We have the new age cosmically, energetically of what's happening. And then as that comes into you, it's asking for a new level of maturity on your part. So you might be justified in doing back to them what they did to you, but let's get real. That's really freaking immature. You might feel justified in talking all snappy and sassy because they snappy and sassy to you too, but let's get real. That's really freaking immature. So for you to move past your immature, whiny victim ways of being, but this time we have to do it in a way that's still compassionate, honors the wholeness. This isn't about cattle prodding yourself to how you should be. This is about loving yourself and understanding this experience and your place within it to such a degree that you are committed to bringing the best of yourself, not the best doing things right, but the most honest, authentic, fullest expression of your whole being and all of your goodness that you have inside of you outwardly to the world, regardless of the choices of others. If I acted towards my 7-year-old the way that she acts towards me all the time, now we could have another podcast about how I do and she does, because, you know, they paired us and what have you. But you know what I'm getting here? How she can have a meltdown and have an emotional meltdown right there in the moment because she thinks that a no for right now that she has to wait for 15 minutes is way too long to wait, But as we're older, we know 15 minutes isn't that big of a deal, right? So we have that kind of maturity going on. But if we were to just act like our kids and do back to them all these kid-like behaviors that they do to us, it would be a hot mess.
Yeah,
We
I
would be
know.
scrapping. We would be, tumbling around all the time. It would be a hot mess. Someone has to step up and be the one who does it, regardless of how they feel about it. It has to get done. And that's what's being asked of within our own lives. We have to step up and take responsibility for it, but in the same way that we would with a beloved child. We
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
treat ourselves that way. We have to be the loving, mature, responsible parent that we didn't have growing up and that we always wish that we had and that we deserve to have. And we need to be that to others when we see themselves slip into their immature ways of being. So I would
yeah.
say what is being asked in a new age means a new level of maturity, and not just
Right,
taking
right,
off another birthday like I just had, but bringing with that the awareness of your own energy and the responsibility of your own energy. And when we think about responsibility, it is your ability to respond to whatever it is that's happening around you. When you think about discipline, I don't even like that word. I wrote a whole blog redefining the word discipline because I'm like, yeah, that just sounds so restricting. But what I
yeah.
found is that at the root of the word discipline, it just simply means to be a disciple of.
Right,
So
right,
when you,
right. That's
so if
right.
you think about self-discipline, all that you're talking about is getting to the very Zen essence of who you are and understanding and being a disciple to, in service to that which you are. So
Yep,
the
yep.
more that I can reconcile the fact that my physical self is here to represent my internal one, and she's the only one who gets the assignment. She's the only one that can bring the voice to the table. She's the only one that can represent herself as I know her to be. Then it matters pretty big on how I use my words, how I use my actions, how I respond to life whenever it presents itself to me, which isn't all peaches and cream and roses and sunshine,
Yes.
because
Yep.
I just haven't hit that point yet. But
That's
I
one thing
am
I'm
a
really
spiritual.
understanding. Yep, exactly what you're saying, because that's my goal this year, to really understand the symbols that I use. We call them words, just to make, things either better or worse. And I caught myself a few times where I was like, oh, I'm ready to go all in. I was like, no, that's only going to make things worse. But one of my favorite tattoos is "What would Jesus do?" And when you said that word disciple, I could hear my dad saying, yeah, she's right on point. She's right on point with that. And hello to my family in Virginia watching. I love you guys. Again, here we're hanging out with Chrissy Key Rollins. She's an amazing woman, beautiful spirit. I'm so glad she's in my life. And, we chat, a lot of times here and there when we can catch up, but she is definitely a regular as far as what I want to do and the messages I want to get. But I just want to share this with you. I love when you always mention about how we have to be tougher on ourselves, but then you always follow that up with a comment and say, don't forget to love yourself, or don't forget to be nice. And I think that's very important, because too many times we will cattle prod ourselves. I love that term, by the way. And I also like, take back the power, which I was writing down for another show. And then you always will say, but yes, but don't. And you're always letting people know how to keep that balance. And I think that's something that a lot of creative people have a hard time with. Yourself, you're creative. We struggle with balance because we're always so, you know what I mean? And it's like we forget, we need that thing. But sometimes we also need just that balance. My great niece Nikel is a lot like you. She's very balanced. She always reminds me of my sister. But anyway, back to your new age, and I'm not, done by no means. If you got to run, let me know. But back to your new age, I just wanted to tell you that because it was on my mind. You're when you look at that moniker, and I'm going to use that if you don't mind, New Year, New World, New Age. When we get to the point where we feel now, okay, I'm ready to get out into the world. I've done my morning thing, my evening thing, and I'm good inside. I can now go out and spread this light, right? What would somebody just say that wants to understand this holistic restoration and how to spread that light to others? How would they approach the new age, let's just say world citizen, with some of this knowledge? How would they drop it on them?
Yeah, so let's keep it simple. The best way to educate others is to be the example. We think so often that it's to use words and to explain things and break them down, but it's the example. I impact people more with my example and my presence than the words. I mean, that's the only reason people will stick around a lot of times to listen to what I have to say is because of my presence. They're like, how are you this way? How are you always so calm? Why are you always so cool?
Yeah.
And it's because I'm committed to it. It's because I realize nobody else is going to do it for me. I realize that I have to do it for myself. So we could take something we could take a very complex idea of how do we get to racial equality, for example. And how do we do that in our day-to-day life? Well, it means that everywhere you go, there's racial equality. If each individual person who is committed to racial equality made sure that with every single interaction that they have, there's racial equality, everything would just kind of sort itself out.
Right.
It would sort
Right.
itself out. So taking that responsibility for yourself to be that example, to be to others what it is that you want to receive from the world. Now, there's that golden rule about do unto others as you want them to do unto you. That's a really great place to start. But that also hits a shortcoming spot because we hit a point where we do to others what we think that we would like to have done. But really, the ultimate spot is doing what they would like to be done. And that can be kind of a scary thought because it's like, well, I could lose myself, or what if what they want to have done, is out of balance itself. But really at the heart, fundamental desire of every single person is a desire for love and acceptance.
Right.
So
right.
what does everybody want? What would ultimately everybody want? They want to be treated with love and acceptance. So that means that when you run into confusion, you counteract that with curiosity. And what do I mean by confusion? I mean, whenever anything happens contrary to how you think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
That's confusion. I'm confused over why this is happening. I'm confused over why they would do this. I'm confused over why they would say this. Why would they treat me that way? Why would they let this happen? Then instead of saying, hey, I'm confused over why you did this, do you know that this is the right way to do it? Instead, say, I'm confused over why this just happened. Can you help me to understand your thinking?
Mm-hmm.
I know you. I use this a lot with my significant other. I know you to be an extremely integrity-filled person who definitely knows the difference between right and wrong. So can you tell me how that action was right?
Yeah.
And if it was not, they're left with no choice but to take ownership of it.
Right.
People, when you try to bring your logic over to somebody else, all that they're probably going to do is counteract that with their own logic. So instead of trying to change the world by telling them how to act right, it's more advantageous, or I have found much more advantage to getting curious about their logic and their understanding. What made you say this? Why would you say that? Why would you do that? Just so I can understand where you're coming from, because I know you, especially when we're talking about people that, we love and we care about, because a lot of us are having a lot of issues with those people as well in this current climate. I know you to be someone who cares a lot about other people. When you say things in that tone of voice, it sounds like you're being very judgmental. I might be mistaking things, but can you help me to understand what you meant by that? And when you bounce that energetic ball back into their court, it's up to them, their next move. If they're seriously committed to being out of integrity, you're going to know that. But a lot of times people only appear to be out of integrity because you're judging their actions and you're not taking time to understand where they're coming from. You're projecting your thought process over to them. So you have the experience that you believe is happening and not necessarily the experience that they believe is happening. And that's where we get into this miry muck of mess.
And we bounce it back and forth off each other. Yeah. It's weird because with where we are now, where we have to go, I'm calling all my true funk soldiers and my light workers out there, to stay in the Zen. It's really, really hard, but for some of us, but, going forward, and we have to stay positive. We have to stay, let's try to work through this in a way that's going to benefit everybody. Like, let's look at the big picture. Some people will just never be able to, like you said, they're not into the new world. They're not into the new year. They're like going in reverse. And I don't mean anything negative. I just mean that I usually say, well, it's like, there was a movie where the upper Cro-Magnon men were sitting down looking at the lower Cro-Magnon men, and they couldn't even figure out how to like get fire. Yet these people had fire, food, and everything else. And I'm like, but okay, I gotta watch you do this. It's killing me because on one hand, I'm watching you self-destruct, and I don't want to do that as a human being, as a light worker, as a spiritual being, as a you know, as a person that legitimately in this spirit loves love. I don't want to see you hurt that bad to where you got to do that, all the terrible things that you may have done or your ancestors, whatever. But at the same time, right, I'm trying to feed you this new food, but you don't want to eat it. You don't want to take it. So, like, you're going to have to make that choice. Like you just mentioned, bounce the ball back on their court. It's not up to me anymore if I got to continually try to feed you and you don't want to eat. You know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, you know?
Yeah, a really helpful tip that I picked up along the way is that positive people don't change negative people.
Yeah.
You can't change them. You can't change them because of your perspective, your thoughts, and what have you. And I also have a thought about leading a horse to water. I feel that while you can lead a horse to water and you can't make it drink, if you give that horse a really big shove from behind and push them into the water, they can't help but get a little bit of something in their mouth, and then it's up to them if they want to keep drinking it or not. So sometimes we have to, pardon the words that I choose for this, but force our experience onto others, or a better way to say it is to invite them into our world. In my world, there's peace that happens because I can't live any other way. So it doesn't mean that I never get into conflicts or never get into words or always watch what I say or do the right thing. No, I'm human too. I'm in my healing process too. But by me stumbling into these places, it allows me to feel them out and put them into words and be able to help to guide other people through them. So I've accepted that's part of my assignment here on earth is to have a blinder to assholes. It is.
Yeah.
I fall right into their trap a lot of times, and I don't see any of their asshole ways until after, oh, I realize this now. And then everybody around me is like, yeah, I was wondering what you were thinking the whole time anyway. And I'm like, well, how come I couldn't see it? But I couldn't see it. But I learned there's beauty in that. There's real beauty in that. I could beat myself up. I could be like, oh, you're so daft, or you're so naive, or you just whatever, don't have enough self-worth or value. You fall into these situations. But then I realized, no, that's one of my superpowers, because in falling in love with these people, it allows me to get in touch with their wholeness and be able to bring it to the outside. Now, notice I didn't say it allows me to change the way that they act and behave in the world. Not at all. But it allows me to get in touch with the wholeness of that individual. And it allows me to bring teachings over to other people who may have also slipped into a slippery slope with someone who isn't at a point that they consciously work to bring the best experience to other people. We'll define them that way, right? Mm-hmm. But most negative people don't see themselves as the one that's negative.
Yeah.
They're not. In fact, they were just fine until you showed up and started causing conflict. Right?
That's deep. Yeah.
Nobody's a jerk until you show up to tell them that they are.
Yeah.
We're all fine in a room by ourselves. All of us.
Yeah.
Now,
that's
I have
very cool.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's very cool. I like that.
Yeah. So we're not here to shove anybody along their journey. In fact, I kind of play this game with my own mind that, whenever the going gets tough, sometimes you got to shift your perspective, or I have to shift my perspective to just keep me in the game. And one of the ways that I shift my perspective is that I imagine or consider, because I don't know really, I consider the fact that I don't know what happens when somebody leaves the room. Right. I assume that my husband and daughter exist and they're on the other side of these walls, but I really can't prove it until I re-engage with them. Right? So I have been known to consider them as actors that are just waiting in the wings until it's time for their lines.
Right.
So what if that other person really isn't a jerk? They just have a script that they can't vary off of until you up-level your script. And you change the way that you interact with them and you engage with them and you interpret them. Now, some of us can
Right.
say, yeah, okay, they're going to be that way until I change myself where I'm not around them anymore. But all that does is keep you exactly in your same place and keep them exactly in their same place. If you can
Mm-hmm.
instead say, okay, I will not get a line from this actor in my life that is the one that I want until I stop falling into the pitfalls of his
Yeah.
messier, sloppier lines that he has out there.
Yeah.
So, as far as I know, he could blow up, go off the handle, walk into the other room and be like, yes, I nailed it. He
Yeah.
could be totally fine. I have no idea. But all
Yeah.
that he did was act out the body movements and the verbal cues, the symbols that I needed to perceive to get in touch with whatever was unsettled inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yep.
It's not
That's
him
deep.
doing anything wrong. It's him as divine perfection, decorated as someone who's a little off kilter in order to show that inside of me, I still have something that comes forth other than seeing his wholeness and compassion,
Right.
which means I must still have a filter in place that doesn't see the wholeness, that believes things are happening to me based on the energetic resonance of how I interpret his words and actions, and compared it to some past experience that I had, either
Yeah.
directly, either this is where it gets crazy, either directly or I witnessed played out with another. And it could be
Right.
another
Right.
in
Right.
person, or it could be actors on TV that are playing it out that I witnessed. And now I'm interpreting this real life situation. You see how quickly this can get messy and tricky?
Yep.
But when we
Yep.
can simplify it as you're only ever witnessing, seeing, interpreting life around you in the way that's needed to bring up your next healing, now we're playing a different game, totally
Yeah.
different game.
You mentioned healing a lot. And again, we've been hanging out, which has been such a blast. Chrissy Key Rollins right here on Funk from the Front Seat, 9 on the Grind TV. And StreamYard, you guys got an amazing platform. Thank you for that. You've updated a lot of stuff, and it's really looking good out there. And Mark behind the glass taking care of everything, man. I appreciate you. It's funny because healing is I never used to think healing was such an important word. We want to heal from, say relationships, or we want to heal from operations, this and that, or we want to heal our heart, and we want to go out and try to heal the world and touch people with music and all this other stuff, or art or whatever, right? But I never really understood the significance and the importance of the verb to heal until this past year and a half, because it took itself up to a whole nother notch. You know what I mean? Because there are people that we're going to have to forgive no matter what.
Yeah.
So we got to heal, right? There are situations that will never be the same in some families, but they got to heal. There are business things that have collapsed due to this natural occurrence, that on both sides they're completely screwed, but they got to figure out how to heal. And I'm going to take that one word and kind of think on that some more, because I love when you constantly reinforce that. And for those of you that are watching, this woman is very, very deep. She's totally with it, down with it. Chrissy Key Rollins, Holistic Restoration. Please follow her stuff. It's all over the place. You can find her on YouTube and Facebook, and check my pages. Everything that she's working towards and that she's doing is for that one word, to heal, as well as other things, spread peace and love. But, when you come on shows like this, and I know you do your own shows and a lot of shows, and you got about 8 minutes. I just want you to tell us, how do you keep yourself healed?
Yeah. So really great questions. And it's been such an honor to have this conversation with you. And thank you, Mark, for all that you're doing behind the scenes too. And everybody who's out there watching, listening, supporting, and just really committed to having a more peaceful experience of yourself and others. I commend you and I recognize you for that. And of course, if I can help on the journey at all, then by all means, reach out, get plugged in and connected. This question around healing is very interesting because being a healer, someone who identifies as a healer, there was a pivotal point that happened in my life and in my healing journey and in my journey in assisting others in healing of realizing that there actually is nothing to heal. There's only wholeness. And it really is just reconciling back and reconnecting to that awareness that everything is already healed and whole. And that's definitely a different approach that I take than other healers and coaches out there, other spiritual guides. When I work with you, I work with a whole individual. I'm not working with someone who's broke or needs fixing or we got a lot of work to do. No. In fact, what my job is to show you how to reconnect to that awareness within yourself so that you can understand that you already are healed. You already are whole. And what you're experiencing in your physical and emotional and spiritual life are the symptoms of being disconnected from the awareness that you are whole and complete as is. So when we think back to the beginning of this conversation, I touched upon how the destruction and the creation process are the same exact thing. In order for you to have anything that you want, new come in, what was there has to be changed, altered, in essence, destroyed. Well, the same thing happens with the healing process. If you notice, the symptoms of healing and the symptoms of disease are the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So the indication that there is something that is healing is actually a delayed physical reaction to the energetic healing that has already taken place. So I believe one only gets on this path if they have on some level connected to the fact that there's wholeness within them that is ready to come through out into this world.
Right.
So to even look at yourself and other individuals in the world itself as not needing healing, but actually having been healed, and now this is the healing expressing itself outwardly into the world, it can change. It can change the way that you experience yourself. It can change the way that you experience other people, and of course, this world around us. So as challenging as it can be at times, because I slip right into it. I mean, hello, I'm human first and foremost. That's the direct experience that I'm having here. We're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yep.
So yes, we're spiritual first, but in this world, we're supposed to identify as human. And when we can marry those parts of ourselves, when we can work together in a cohesive partnership of our physical self and our spiritual self, that's where the going really gets good. And even when it's not so good, it's still way better than what it was like before when that separation was there. So some of the best, most powerful work that you can do for yourself, for others, is to not see them as in lack or in need or without, but see them as whole, see them as integrity filled from their justified perspective, and then get curious to understand them if you want to engage with them further. And what that's going to allow you to do is that it's going to allow you to reconcile all these subconscious gaps that you have within your own psychic field, within your own energetic field. It will allow you to bring to a full conscious reality and experience here in this physical world the experience of wholeness and of healing. And for me, that's been the most effective way to get to it. So I look at the body, if I'm working on somebody's physical body, they could be here on my healing table, or we can even just be working at a distance, because the body's just a roadmap. It's a guide to let you know what shifts have taken place energetically. So I start with the whole healed individual, and then we just work through the process to help the physical catch up, the physical reality catch up with that actuality. So my focus is on closing that gap between where you believe you are and where you actually are energetically, so that you can relax into that lag time that happens as we close the gap and move down the timeline. And that's where we are right now. We are closing this gap in this timeline between this old world that we're leaving behind and this new world that we're birthing forth, and whatever it is that you need to face, deal with, confront, but most importantly, reconcile within your own wholeness. That's what's going to be triggered. That's what's going to come to the forefront. And the more that we embrace and seek out ways to work with our emotions, to understand how to process emotions. I mean, emotions are energy in motion. And as part of this connected collective human experience, we transfer those to each other, and they just zip around this planet, and they zip right into us. And the more that we can engage in spiritual alchemy, the more that we can transmute them, the more we can take responsibility for them, the more we can get out of victimizing ourselves and others. And this is something that I'm so glad this has come all the way around, because you mentioned about your warrior spirit. And a lot of us are very resilient. And that's one of the beautiful things that come out of hardships like what we faced throughout 2020. We realize how resilient we are. And that is a remarkable trait. It is noble. It is noteworthy. It is honorable. And it's also limiting, because you did not come here to do this all on your own. We came here to do this together. So you don't have to be resilient. You don't have to be a warrior. You don't have to do it all. You don't even have to be upset right now. You can relax into what is happening now and allow yourself to evolve beyond that. And a lot of us are getting really energetically burned out, emotionally, spiritually, relationship-wise, burned out, because we're so used to swooping right in and helping everybody along their path. And we're so used to carrying more than our load. And a lot of us are getting things handed over to us. Like, I mean, a lot of things are getting handed over, a lot of displacement of blame and shame and guilt. A lot of projection is happening right now. And so,
necessarily so, right.
Yeah. So to understand, you don't have to burden that. You can get curious about it, you can engage with it, and you can connect with the wholeness that's within you and within each other in this whole unfolding, and you can completely change your entire experience. And it can happen individually, it can happen internally, it can happen externally, it can happen on so many levels. But to me, that's where the magic happens. That's where the power lies. And that's what this new world, this new age, this new year is asking and extending an invitation. And then my question is, are you ready to accept it? Are you ready to accept that invitation to do things differently, to consider things from a different perspective, and to have a different experience? And if you're not, that's okay. That's your script. That's your role. That's where you're at, baby. So you do that to the truest and most sincere place that it vibes and aligns within you. And if you hit a point where something still feels a little bit off, you might want to get curious and go and explore things from a different perspective. And otherwise, I honor everybody for their service, because this ain't easy. This is not easy.
It is not, you know, and those words right there, you know, carry a great weight. The symbols and the words that we use to transmit this energy and this positive feeling of love, peace, harmony, and new year, new world, new age. Right here, Funk from the Front Seat. You heard it first. Chrissy Key Rollins, she's a regular. She'll be coming back with us, visiting us again. Please follow all of her stuff on Patreon and all her Facebook pages, and check her out, because she's really got a lot of informative videos on YouTube and you know, a lot of good things. I wanted to bring Mark in for a second to ask him if he had a question for you. And again, I wanted to, you know, say thank you, Chrissy. I love having you. You're amazing as always. You know, we'll be in touch, and I'll touch base with you, and we'll talk. And I love what you bring to the table. It's just so awesome. And for everybody out there watching, y'all need to check this woman out. She's deep.
Thank you, guys.
Amazing job. I was really enjoying all that great conversation you were having. I know a lot of folks are thinking about the age of Aquarius, and I was actually thinking about the fact that that was a very popular age that was put out in songs in the 60s and the 70s, and now it seems to be coming back in fruition and everything. So how often do we come back to an age of Aquarius? Because I remember that as being a child of the 60s, that was a term used back then, and now we're in 2020. So that was my one question, was how often do we come into these different ages and all of that? And then I could also agree with something that Zach said, that a lot of times we have to let go of those negative energies, and you said that as well, because I know lately as I've been telling Zach, not doing a job that I'm really enjoying. I'm actually doing an assembly line job just because it's paying some bills and it's making some boxes and some kits and all of that, but it's definitely assembly line work. So I have to like find my ways to bring the positivity into what is definitely not a positive energy job, but it's just something to help pay these bills because we are in difficult bill times.
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. I wish that I had the true Aquarian mind and had the answer for how long these ages last. I do not know that exactly, but I will tell you that it's hundreds of years. So Jesus was born or came about during the age of Pisces, which is why we associate the Pisces sign with Jesus. So he's part of the Piscean age. So that gives you an idea how long we were in that Pisces age and how rare and unique it is to be human and alive on a planet where we shift from age to age, which to me is just an absolute sign and confirmation that we are the chosen ones. We are here on this earth at this time for a very specific reason, and it's to go through and do exactly what we're doing right now. So that goes for all the characters in this cast. All of them are playing their part exactly as divinely intended, and that's something to be honored. It doesn't justify, or it doesn't bring justice to the situations that are unjust. It doesn't condone the situations that are off kilter, but what it does is that it allows us to understand that without that dichotomy, without that contrast, we would not be doing what we came here to do. So now is the time. We are the chosen ones, and there's simply no more waiting. So those songs came about not because that's what was happening, but because they knew that that's where we were going to. So around that time in the 60s and 70s, and those that really specialize in this work could go way more in depth on it. But around that time is when a lot of the star beings and a lot of those angelic and astral beings started to choose to come onto this planet. So around the 60s and 70s is when that energy started to be really birthed through the humans that are on this planet to start to set the time for this current stage that we all get to play out on. So it's been coming. It's been coming for a while now. And we absolutely have the power to transform everything that we're doing right now. Now we are, what we're doing, and especially in our generations and the ones that came just right before us, so us that are above 40, but those that are under, that are 30 and under, we're all going through this to a degree. But what has happened is that everything's been laid down to get us to this point so that we can take it on to that next level of evolution. So we still have work to do here for sure. And actually it's just starting to get good. So anybody who feels like they've been on this path for a long time, that feel like, I've been doing this, I've been walking the spiritual walk, I've been talking the spiritual talk, I've been doing this for decades now. Where's my stuff? Where's my payoff? If you've been feeling that way, know that you're perfectly on track. You were meant to take the slow build so that once you make that tip, you don't have to lose it all. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
So those who made it quick and then they made that fall, they had to do it that way. We are doing it in a way that it lasts, because we're not just laying it down for ourselves, we're laying it down for all the generations that come after. So we're doing some pretty heavy lifting here, which is why we're so freaking tired. But also we need to remember we don't have to do it all on our own. So if you are facing a situation like Mark, and for your own situation where you're kind of closing the gap and making some, getting some needs met in the short run that don't really line up with where you feel you're destined to be in the long run, call a spade a spade. Recognize a stepping stone when a stepping stone's there in front of you. And for every box that you pack, that's one less box that you're ever going to pack again in your life. And that this is just what is the current stage for that next act that's already underway. You don't have to make it happen. You just have to show up and dare to be different, because you break out of your script right now playing this role, and watch how other people break out of their script too. So what could that look like? It could look like getting curious whenever you're hit with that confusion. It could look like getting curious by asking different questions and starting different conversations that you might have in the past withheld. But now you can go into it knowing, well, wait a second, if that question's nudging forward or that curiosity is within me, the only one who's going to bring it out here in the world is the one who's getting the assignment. So let me see what happens if I dare to say this, or inquire about that, or ask about that, or do something radical like quit.
Hey, I've thought about that.
Space for something new to come in. Now, I don't advocate going on the entrepreneurial path the way that I did. There's lots of smarter ways to do it than me, but I've been kind of known throughout my life to say, I'm done with this, so I'm going to quit and then find something new. When everybody's like, no, you're supposed to find something new, then quit. I'm like, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. So, and something has always lined up for me. It's always worked that way. I can understand it now that that's life. Life's waiting for you to say no more. I refuse to compromise myself. I refuse to deny my own pleasure and passion and desires whenever I know that they're intended for good and for the highest being, or the highest good for all involved. So if I dare to say no more of this old thing, what could dare to come into its place? But most of us go into the entrepreneur. This is why I think most entrepreneurs fail, is because we start with our energy split. We say, I'm going to give it a year. I got enough savings to get me through the year. Or if I'm not making money after 90 days, I'm going to go find a job. Well, that's not the same faith walk as showing up every single day knowing that there is no failure, that there's only the next discovery of what lies in wait for you. So we've been conditioned into this survival mode. We've been conditioned to plan for that plan B and to have that ulterior plan to ensure our survival. But as we established early on in this conversation, none of us are making it out alive.
Yep,
so,
I could do that.
And we end up using a lot of our energy in situations that aren't truly survival threatening situations. We just project that they're going to lead that way.
Yeah, just had one of the quick things. I'm going to turn it back over to Zach, because Zach does a great job with this show. He's just an amazing host, and I'm just glad to be his producer and everything in the background and everything. But one of the things I was going to say that I've noticed, and I've mentioned this to Zach a couple of times, is that I've been noticing that other, as he likes to call them, light workers have been following in my path, and we've been actually connecting a lot. So I'm thinking that part of this age of Aquarius is a lot of light workers connecting together, kind of the way that you and Zach have done in y'all's work together. But I've also seen it with a number of folks that I've had the pleasure of talking to, including a young lady from Jordan. There's another young lady that I believe is in Ohio, and a guy that's out of the California area. But we all seem to have this light worker connection that we've been kind of bonding together on a lot of different levels and things of that nature. So I'm thinking that that's part of what's going on as well. And then the last thing, I was just going to let you know that part of what I was doing was I was going in the backstage and finding some of your websites. So you'll notice that we didn't have originally the banner for Patreon, and we didn't have the banner for YouTube, but I dug those up. And you're at 75% of your goal, or 73, 74. So hopefully folks are watching, and we're going to push you to 100%, because you were at 75%. So hopefully this show is going to push you to 100% on your Patreon goal.
But Mark, I wanted to tell you, I met Chrissy through another light worker, which was Tish Oakley.
Right.
And Tish, I love you out there, Earth Monkey Energies. Hope to have you back on soon. But yes, that's how Chrissy and I originally met. So yeah, and I've been noticing the same thing too, Mark. It's like, we're all connecting for a reason. And I think it's to make our whole stronger, and I love what you said, Chrissy, and I'm gonna, let you get the last word in, but the breath thing of being one breath, the breath of life and the breath thing, it has a lot of spiritual, Jesus-esque kind of overtoned breath of life type thing. And I really, really get that, and I try to, project it. And I'm going to even try even harder this year, and make sure, because I know I've already pushed it out in a positive way. So I just want to continue to do that. Again, hanging out on Funk from the Front Seat ain't been nothing but funk conversation. For all you guys out there watching 9 on the Grind TV, we are here every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our special guest for next week is none other than Miss Nancy Marie, entrepreneur, activist, musician, videographer. She does it all. She works at Canaan Jams. Nancy Marie will be with us next Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our guest today, Chrissy Key Rollins. Last words. Let it rip.
Yeah, it's such an honor to be here. And I really appreciate everything that Mark just said as well. And part of what's happening right now is the realization that we are all healers, that we are all light workers, and that's what we came here to do. And we have to redefine what the modern healer and light worker looks like, and move beyond it being someone who has, a holistic wellness practice and into the person who works the assembly line. Because with every box that you pack, if you can get in touch with the gratitude of all the jobs that are being provided because of this company, of all the lives that are blessed because this product is being put out there in the world, and all the beautiful contribution and energy that you bring to it as a conscious, aware individual that is putting your loving hands on these products and boxing them up and shipping them off into the world, you can make such a powerful impact with every motion that you do. And you can have every moment of your life become a healing experience, and every interaction that you have with another human be not only a healing experience for yourself, but for the other person as well. We have that power. We have that right. We came here to exercise it. Now is the time to bring it forth. It is no longer a time to deny these things within us or to wait for other people's permission to bring more goodness, more love, more kindness, more compassion, more understanding, more curiosity to the world. And it is not a time for getting things right or wrong. It is a time simply for loving ourselves, loving each other, and finding what there is to love about each and every experience, and making sure that you're bringing something that is loving to that experience as well. So it's an honor to be here. I'm excited to be a regular and to continue this journey throughout 2021 with you, Zach, and with you, Mark, and with all the listeners out there. And for sure, if there's any comments, feedback, anything you'd love to see us take these conversations into a specific direction or dive deeper into or simplify even more, I am completely open. I am humbly here at your service. And it's an honor to have this conversation with you, Zach. Thank you.
Absolutely. And as my special guest, you get this next exit single, Keepers of the Funk, which you are Keeper of the Light. New year, new world, new age. Chrissy Key Rollins. I want to thank everybody out there. We're going to end like we always end, because we always come in hot and we go out hot. So, Chrissy, this is for you. Spiritual revolution going on. We're going to make this work. And I know you're here in North Carolina, but we're going to shout out to people in Georgia, shout out to people in South Carolina, Detroit up there making it funky, New Jersey making it funky, California, I know you funky, down in Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, up in Canada, Minneapolis, MPLS, Strong Island, New York, I know y'all are making it funky out there. And everybody around the world, Australia, Germany, England, Dubai. Yes, our guest today was Chrissy Key Rollins, y'all. Take care. I love y'all. This has been your host, number 9 on the Grind TV, Funk from the Front Seat. Get hyped. Your mind is spiritual revolution for all of mankind. Are you down with it? Spiritual revolution, y'all. Next week, our guest, Nancy Marie. Every Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What's up? How you doing, Wendy Beaver in Australia? My girl over there, Carmen Shimon, I love you. Tanny Soul, Sister Germany, I love you. Dr. Brookenstein, I love you, bro, up in Philly, Dilly. Al Rashad and Leroy down in Florida. Mama Sandy, I love you. Funkster Jones, Keith, I love you. Brenda Robinson, I love you. Brenda Wood, y'all. Brenda Wood, y'all. I love you. You're just going off today with nothing but the love. I'll see y'all next week. On from the front seat. And fly safe, y'all. And don't forget, hand sanitizer. Shout out to Virginia. I love y'all. Shout out to Patty and Bootsy. Congratulations, Bootsy. AARP, Cincinnati Martin Luther King Award last night. I gotta get up out of here. I'll see y'all next time. Later.